What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com. I'm a blind film critic, and I'm going back through the Black Mirror episodes, and we're gonna see what they look like because season 7 dropped, and Netflix threw me in the middle of Black Mirror instead of immediately starting at season 7. I never watched it before, and so it made me actually have to choose and go in and opt and pick. Do I want to go back to the beginning, or do I want to start at season 7? So I chose to start at the beginning. Should move through it pretty quickly. Some of the seasons only have 4 episodes. So it seems like a daunting task to be like, I'm going to watch 7 seasons of Black Mirror. It would be if it was like 7 seasons of a network show that ran 21, 22 episodes a season, but that's not what this is. So I should be able to knock it out. I'm already halfway through season 1. Look at that. So, yeah, this is 15 Million Merits. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, which is crazy because when you think about how old this is, came out like 2011, 2012. This is pre-Get Out. So this is before both Oscar nominations for Daniel Kaluuya, before he was an Oscar winner. So this is like jumping all the way back to like early Daniel Kaluuya. And I'm not even like 100% sure that I knew him back then. Like, I think I kind of got introduced to him around the same time that he was breaking in with Get Out. I I didn't watch, was he in Skins? Yeah, I didn't watch that. So um yeah, they pull a lot from a British cast, and he's leading the charge here. And this is sort of set in a dystopian future. Everything is dystopian. Nothing's ever just like a bright, new, beautiful, perfect future. You know what I'm saying? It's always like there's something wrong. Not like, hey guys, we got it right. Check this out. Everything's amazing. There's nothing dystopian about this. This is the future you want. This is the future we all want to live in. There's always like a shade of, at what cost? At what cost, sir? Yeah, it plays a lot around with ideas of, getting on the wheel, getting on the grind, like how hamsters just like jump on a wheel and they don't even know what they're doing it for. There's a lot of that in here. And sort of workers, how they work in factories and stuff, and they just kind of repeatedly do the same thing all day, every day. Well, even in our dystopian future, we have found a way to just make people do the same thing all day, every day. And everybody who's able-bodied hops on like a bike, like a stationary bike, and just pedals all day long, presumably to generate energy. But as they pedal, they create credits, or they create merits, actually. I love the use of the word merit. I should have immediately remembered it was merits, because that's what I love about it, is because when you think about things being a merit-based system, it's always like a reward. It's like a good thing. There's merit to it. It's a word that works both ways. It works to denote that you've gotten some sort of funds, but it also insinuates the positivity behind doing so. So using that instead of cash or credit or something like that just makes it for a more trying to sell the message. And while they're on the bikes, they're sort of inundated with ads, and like they have to watch these ads, and just sort of any time in life. I mean, there are just ads everywhere. Like they have access to content, but the content they have access to is, what future are we in? And I'm not even sure. I was trying to think back to, because everything is of the period where it's come from. It's weird to think of this sort of like as a period piece, but it was obviously written in the early 2010s when singing competition shows were still like peak. This was around the time when, we still had singing competition shows everywhere. They still existed. Britain still had X Factor. There were still all these idol versions internationally, and networks were trying to find the next idol. The Voice was new. Simon had just spun off X Factor over here into its own thing. So people were still trying to find the next American Idol as a show, as a juggernaut, because it was still on Fox. It was still doing, banner business. They still had, they were still eliminating contestants one at a time, and like what they do now, they still had a results show, all those things. So it was still peak, uh, you know, instant fame shows. And that's one of the options that they have, is that they can gather credits and they can go audition for this show where, I don't know, a pool of the world's weirdest judges determine whether or not you should be famous or not. And if you're famous, then you kind of get elevated in status. And there's less of this idea that you just sort of show up and grind every day on a stationary bike. So, but the options seem really limited. The only things I ever really caught them doing were either watching like shows that made fun of fat people, which the audio description does use the term fat. So if you are triggered by that, I'm overweight, I'm fat. The use of the word fat doesn't trigger me, but I literally, this is a tangential story. I'm a part of a whole bunch of like film communities, and I was part of one that before Brendan Fraser's The Whale came out, they forbid discussion of it. And I'm like, this is a film community. Why are we not? They were worried about it, like about fat shaming and promoting the fat phobic. And this was before it had been screened. This is before it had made its premiere. The concept of The Whale and the initial images of Brendan Fraser in The Whale had turned people off to even having a discussion on it. And so they like made an announcement to the community saying, we're not going to talk about it. And in the post, I just kept using the word fat, 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 fat. And I was like, are we reclaiming the word? I mean, to some people, you just using that word over and over is not necessarily, like, I was trying to make a point about how, you say that you're trying to, but often that's the word that's used against fat people. It's the word that's thrown at us. It doesn't bother me so much, but it does when I don't know who the person is and they use it 27 times to try to act like they're the defenders of people like me. So hearing it in the audio description track just as a quick way to describe, I was thinking like, what are we doing? Overweight, plus size, large, I don't know, like fat just feels like a nice quick to the cut chase thing. And it's not used in a way to demean, it's used in a way to just describe somebody. But unfortunately, the episode itself demeans people. So I guess some people could be offended by the audio description track mirroring sort of the tone of the episode. I don't think that, but I try to think about things from other people's perspective, since we have all these trigger warnings everywhere, all over for everything. So there's your one trigger warning. And the Kaluuya basically just gets on the grind every day and rides his bike, and he can either watch fat shaming, he can watch a reality competition series, or he can watch porn. Like three things. I couldn't even imagine trying to like be in a public place while there's like porn playing and watching, or like exercising and watching porn. It's just like, why is this a thing? I love that that's the only option. Like that's it. And that's what we're down to, basically. I would think that society, I mean, there's so many people who just watch like funny cat videos, like what happened to those people? Did we kill all those people off? Did they not exist in the dystopian future? People who just like watching silly animal videos. What happened to all the people who like to watch trashy reality TV and just people like screaming at each other and throwing wine glasses? Where did those people go? Where are the people who love watching procedurals all day long? And it's just like, 27,000 episodes of Law and Order series, just binging on a nonstop basis. So, I think the offerings are so limited that it kind of makes me wonder what happened to the rest of society. And even the ads are just like, they felt kind of limited to me. Like they're not trying to sell me. It didn't feel like that they had a lot of social commentary on like selling you things you don't need. It's what plants crave. Nothing like that. It just kind of feels like we're promoting things you already know, you already see. Why aren't you watching this? I So, um, but everything around him is like tech. There's like a food vending machine. He gets up and he gets like an apple at one point for his lunch, for his food. And I guess like everything about it from like a healthy perspective, because also being on a like you would be in insane shape if every day spent was on a treadmill, like, or on a stationary bike. Like that you're not just doing that to exercise. Like that's your work. That's your job. So long gone would be the days of you ever eating anything. And considering um the culture now makes fun of fat people, they obviously, the idea of cake would be like, oh, that's what those other people eat. We would never eat that. So I get it, but also like vegetables, protein. I mean, protein's kind of like a huge part of workout, exercising. You kind of, anyway, I don't know that an apple is going to keep him energized to be able to function, to work out. You're burning an insane amount of calories every day. You almost have to eat. It's sort of like when you look at these people who are uh, who train a lot and who lift a lot of weights and bodybuild. Uh, the athletes who operate at a high level, their calorie intake is really high too because they need it to be. So they do have to kind of watch like things like sodium and cholesterol and stuff, obviously, but um, they eat an insane amount of food because they also actually are burning it off. Like that's part of their training system. So they have to actually measure the amount of, it's very specific stuff that's going in, but it is a lot more food than what you would what a normal person would eat. So and that's what they're doing. So if your whole day is spent on a stationary bike generating energy, you would think that the system, that the world would be feeding you more than an apple. Like that would be it. Like it would behoove them to do that. Um, and also, but it is more about. So this episode could have said a lot more about like what kind of food to eat, and had these people reacting to, because the fat people in the episode end up as like janitors, as if their lives weren't bad enough. They go around and people just kind of make fun of them for being the people who have to clean all the time. So I don't know. I think we could have made more of a point about the kinds of food that you eat. I kind of don't think that he eats enough food, burning off the calories that he does to be able to generate that much energy. Um, but he meets this girl and he spends all of his credits to help her get to the singing competition thing. And so he goes down to a really low amount of credits and functionality and stuff in life. And he has, which means he can't skip ads anymore. He basically uses his credits to skip ads. And this girl who she has a nice voice. She wasn't like amazing. It was also kind of like a softer song. She was kind of shy. The judging panel on the show was like, you should do porn. We won't see your titties. So she has an opportunity to either go back to the grind or do porn. And at the end of the day, the crowd is like cheering her on, to do porn, and she goes and does that. And which upsets the guy who likes her, Kaluuya, and he has a tantrum because he can't skip the ad that features her that in the porn, right, in the upcoming. So he skips it. He can't skip it because he's poor, because he used all the money on getting her there. I also love the fact that it eventually it leads to him getting another 15 million merits so that he can go back and audition for the show himself. And he stops at exactly 15 million. I was like, man, how do you do that? He stopped at exactly 15. Like, not 15 and some change. It's not like he stopped paying attention or he finished out his day. He stopped at exactly 15. I get that for the perspective, but he didn't even have exactly 15 before. He just had a little bit over. So he had like a couple thousand left. When all that was said. So he gets his credits and he goes up, and he had kind of thrown a tantrum in his room. So he had some like broken glass, and he goes and he starts doing like a dance routine, like that's his audition, and then he stops and puts the shard of glass to his neck and says he'll kill himself if they don't hear him out. And he shouts about this culture that he's in and raging against it, and um, what is it that they're doing? What are we all doing? Like, what are we empowering? What is all this for? Now that the world didn't work out the way that he wanted it to, he's ready to rage against it. And the kicker to this is that they decide that that's his talent. So they offer him a spot on the rotating programming of shit, where he can just rant for like 30 minutes a couple of days or whatever. And that's, so now he's elevated too. Now he has more status. And at the end, we see him in slightly better living quarters with like a better view of society. And he has his little shard of glass. And I guess every week he has to do like some sort of like talking head rage against the machine program while still holding the glass shard to his neck. Like at any moment he could kill himself. So that's a weird episode. I think the first one, these first two episodes are not perfect for me, and of course I'm thinking Black Mirror is going to end up like getting to be more. And I know we're just starting off, and they're interesting, and they have things to talk about and say. But I'm not. I think what's most interesting here is the idea of we live in a future where everybody just gets on a treadmill or they're fat. Like that's it, or a stationary bike, or like there are no other options. Those are the two things that we do, and we have a very limited amount of programming. And it's like, how did we get here? We have no idea. We have no idea how we got here. So more like the journey is interesting to me than the place where we are. Like I think, like I got it. I picked up on what we're saying about sort of mindlessly getting up every day, and if that's all you do, that's the life you live. Is you wake up and you're like, oh, well, time to go ride on my stationary bike, and then your life is spent like casually flirting with people. But they don't even show that these people have much of a social life. There isn't like a nightclub that they hang out in and a lot of sex that they have or something. Like downtime, what are you doing in your downtime? Like it's just sort of, it's really just like we get up, we ride a bike, we watch some videos, and then we leave. We flirt a little bit with somebody, and then we leave. It's just, I wasn't that invested in their current state, but I was interested in like, when is this? And what happened that led us to this point? And what exactly, he's right, what are they powering? What is it that we're all in some building with all these people who are, and how do we make reality competition singing shows popular again? So I have a lot of 2025 questions that I wouldn't have had in 2011, 2012. So, yeah, that's my thought on Black Mirror season 1, episode 2. Audio description was good, except, I gave you the warning about if using the word fat or fat shaming or anything like that bothers you. That happens a lot in this episode, both in the audio description, but also just generally in the episode. Fat people are bad. They're bad people in this episode, even though they don't do anything. They just clean, and then they're being used for entertainment. Like there's an episode where one guy laughs maniacally. One of the stationary bike exerciser people is seen laughing at a fat guy being force-fed cake. I'm like, okay, this is entertainment now. And I think about like how like Idiocracy sort of explored the future of entertainment with this show that kept kicking everybody in the balls. And I'm like, where do we even have it's always based around in and around entertainment. And I think like that was in 2006, and that was more of a commentary on things like Jackass. And then you think about this, and it says has a singing competition, so it's more of a commentary on the shows that were of the moment at the time. And what would it be in 2025? What would be of the moment? Because we don't really have, We have just streaming shows. We have streaming. I think the thing would be you have to keep subscribing to streaming subscriptions. So I don't know that there is a particular trend in shows because everything is algorithm based. So if anything, the commentary would probably be something AI that generates and creates a show for you that doesn't even exist, but is based on an algorithm of things that you like, and then through that, you don't need advertising because the advertising is worked into the AI algorithm. So if you like science fiction westerns, that's all it's going to give you is sort of like advanced AI generated science fiction westerns with product placement, heavy amounts of product placement. So you don't really need commercial breaks, and you can't skip them because they would be part of the episode. So it'd be like having the cowboys walking around drinking Mountain Dew all the time, uh, space cowboys. I think that's probably what the commentary would be today because everything is like AI based and also streaming, and how that has reshaped. So I'm gonna give this episode a B. I thought it was fine. I'm not that like excited or blown away by it. I think there's more to come. I think it's fine. I think it's solid. I picked up on what it was putting down. I got it. So, yep. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.